Okay, welcome to another episode of The Love Experience. I got my beautiful wife, Dr. Amber Hill, and we got a great guest in the building today.
Welcome, everybody.
So what's y'all names?
Well, I'm Beverlyn Johns. Most people know me. I go by Mahogany for my podcast, but my government name is Beverlyn Johns, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Name is Orvell Johns, and likewise, I'm happy to be with you too.
Okay. So as y'all can see, we already know them. So we just had to perk.
My faves.
Yeah, we had to perk.
Yes.
So today, what we want to talk about? What you want to talk about?
Whatever. What you guys want to talk about?
I think that we've been on an interesting journey, and we want to talk a little bit about our co-parenting journey. I think that would be really good and germane to some of the your viewers here. So let's talk about co-parenting.
Sounds
So
good.
can you give us, the audience, a little history about you guys?
Yeah. So you want me to go?
Yes.
Okay. So Orvell and I met about 13, 14 years ago. I guess at this point we met at a political event. I think it was a political event. Can't remember. It's so long ago. But dated for about 3 years. We got married and had a set of twins in 2017. Aaron and Tyler, and in 2022 got divorced. Was it 2022? 2022 got divorced, and it's been a journey because we've had to really have a meeting of the minds when it comes to our children and what that looks like in a divorced household, right? I never wanted my children to be raised in a broken household, and I don't feel that they are because they have the both of us. And so my model is really around having a partner in parenting and a partner in parenting for life. And so it wasn't easy. It hasn't always been easy, and there are days that are very hard and difficult. But one of the things that I can say through this journey is, at the end of it all, our goal has always been to properly parent our children. If we can't agree on anything else, it is, how are we going to raise these beautiful young men who did not ask to be here, right? And who need a loving home in spite of our differences, in spite of our challenges with one another. How do we come together to ensure that they are happy and healthy?
That sums it up.
Yeah, so that was deep. That was deep. So take us back. How'd y'all actually meet, though?
Who approached you?
Yeah, we want to know that.
Because I know my line sister is fine as wine, right? So I know who it was, right?
Nah, I think she approached him.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
So how we met. So
Look
it's interesting. I was at the time working for an elected official.
Okay.
And Orvell was working for an office and was looking to bring on, and I don't want to do all the talking, but he was looking to bring on a speaker for Black History Month. And at the time, the elected official who I worked with was the first African-American person in this particular elected office. And so it was quite fitting for this person to be the speaker of the Black History Month program for this office that Orvell was serving in at the time. Initially, when Orvell called, I was the community relations director. The elected official didn't have space on his calendar to do the speaking engagement. And so Orvell said, no problem, we moved on. And the elected official found out that we received the phone call and said, you know what, I really want to do it. Let's move everything. And so I called Orvell back and I said, this is my mistake. I put it on myself, as Black women do. Normally we take on everything. And even though his calendar said one thing, I didn't want, I wanted to make sure that the elected official was harmless in the situation. So I said, it's my mistake. I overlooked some things on his calendar. Mm-hmm. He is in fact available. Is there space for him for your program? So that's how that happened. So we met initially from a phone call. And from there, met him at the event, and Orvell was trying to meet with this elected official to discuss some finances or business or what have you. Because when you're an elected official, you do a lot of fundraising. So Orvell was trying to coordinate with him. And the elected official sent me out to meet with him. And that is how we started conversations and communicating and the dialogue. And then he came to the elected officials swearing in and so on and so forth. So that is how we started our friendship, was through the elected official. Mm-hmm. Is that how you remember it?
That's mostly how I remember it, except you said the first day we met, February think it was 25th,
Yeah,
2011.
know it.
You said we started dating the first day we met.
Yeah. So this is true. And part of when we talk about dating and relationships, I talk about this all the time in that I've never really dated. I've always had, I've never really dated. And so who I have been with is who I've married.
Okay.
And so Orvell and I got married. And so I count that first day as our first day because I'm very intentional. And so that was our first day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was.
So it was.
Okay.
So it was. He didn't, I don't think that he realized that, but for me, because I don't talk to a lot of people and I don't, I don't date today and I don't, this is who I am. And I take things very seriously and that may be the wrong approach, but at the time that was my approach. And February 25th.
It was perfect.
It was perfect.
Yes.
It was
So when
perfect.
you see my line sister, what you think?
Well, I heard her smile over the phone.
Oh,
And I was excited because she did take it on herself that it was her mistake. And I knew it wasn't her mistake because I got a call.
Well, she does a lot.
Yeah, I got a call that let me know it wasn't her mistake. But I let her go ahead with that. But I heard her smile and I said, I want to meet her. And I also, when I saw her, I seen she had this natural hair. I love natural hair. And so she's not far off, like, love at first sight. She wasn't far off on that.
Oh, oh.
So how does everybody look at y'all guys since y'all guys are divorced and y'all guys are working through raising your children? Like working in the educational system, that is very common. Like there's a misconception about Black fathers, Black males not being present in their child's life. I see it all the time. I see husbands and wife get divorced, but both parents are still there and present for their children. So a lot of, social media paints that picture. The father's not there, the mother's not there. We can't get along. We can't communicate. So how does that look for y'all guys?
Well, one thing I would like to say is, although we are divorced, I'm not a single parent. He's not a single parent. And I think that when
I like that.
I
like that because society will say,
Right.
you are
You're
a
by
single
yourself, right?
and you are a single parent. So I like how you worded that.
Absolutely. We are not single parents. We are very much united and linked up when it comes to our children. And it's an unfortunate misconception because Black fathers matter and Black fathers are present. And I don't know why that's not promoted more, but I know this Black father is an amazing father. And I'm so grateful and blessed that God chose me to have children with him because he is such an amazing and dynamic father, such an involved and an engaged father. I don't agree with all of his decisions when it comes to the children, but even in that, it's worth a conversation to find out what his perspective and his point of view is, because I know whatever decision he makes as it relates to the children, it's always made with their best intention in mind, right? And to some degree, even though we're divorced, he's still the head when it comes to our children. He's still the head. Even though he's not the head of my home, he is the head when it comes to the children. And I am very intentional about that because we are both part of these children's lives and we both impact them and we both invest in them. And I think that it's something that needs to be promoted more.
So what is one of the biggest challenges? Because as you know, we walked some of this journey with you guys and being Orville and Bev, but now Orvell are in two different homes. What was the biggest challenge for the boys as they transition from one home to two? And I know it probably wasn't always easy to be on that co-parenting perspective. What was the hardest part? Especially because they're so young.
Right. They were just turning 5 and they weren't used to me not being with them at night. I was with them every night. And I can remember early on when we was trying to figure this out, I wasn't there for 3 days. And one of our children just had a mental blowout. And he looked at me crying. I must make sure I move through this. But he said, "Daddy, you left me." And that changed everything, because it was about how do we let them know that it's safe? How do we let them know that their family unit that we've told them that was the most important thing to them was still intact? And how do we let them know that their emotions and their feelings matter to us?
I like that.
Mhm.
But how did you do that? Because sometimes I come from a family where we divorced, but then it's co-parent. It was awkward. It was unhealthy. But even though my parents were divorced, they still was present like you guys. But it was a lot of fighting and arguing in the home, even though they still was separate. But how did you get through that piece?
Or how do y'all manage that?
Or how do you manage it for people that sitting there like, yeah, right, there wasn't no peachy and cream. And what you telling me is I'm supposed to be very, very nice because the kids, forget them kids right now, because I'm in my I'm in my emotions, right?
Me.
It's about me, because sometimes as adults, it's about me. Forget them. Should he hurt me, or he hurt, or I hurt him? Blah blah blah. How did you get through? Because going through a divorce is hard, no matter what, as an adult, right? So how do you get selfless?
So I think it's because I always was selfless, but what I had to understand that it was more than just being selfless with Beverlyn. I had to be selfless with the children as well. So there was two players in this. So I had to figure that out. That's how I had to navigate that. I always considered her my best friend.
Aww.
So it was easy to be around her. It really was. I wanted what was best for her. But what I didn't understand was best for the children. They were trying to figure it out as well. So how I got through it is I just kept trying to make sure that I remained selfless, and that was hard when you said you're dealing with the separation. But I wanted to remain selfless and be there for her and be there for them, because that's what they needed to see. And I have to admit that it really was them. They needed to see that, and every time I pulled away, they let me know it. So
they will let you know.
So
and I like that you made it about your children. You didn't make it about yourself. You took that emotional piece out, and you were like, this is what we got to do.
And I have a little bit of a different take on it. I recognized my need to be a little bit more self-aware of my triggers. I went to therapy. I still go to therapy. And therapy really helped me to compartmentalize what was happening to me, what was happening around me, to where I could forgive easier, but not just to forgive, but to also acknowledge my part, so that it wasn't so much, you did this, you did that, it's all on you. Nobody wants to go through life being blamed for everything.
Right.
There's a point where you have to take a step back and hold yourself accountable for the things that you have done. And when you do that, it does bring a sense of calm. Things that used to irritate you may not irritate you as much anymore, because you recognize, okay, that's a Beverlyn thing. That's a me thing. That's not a him thing, because he can get on my nerves, but it's not his fault, because that is who he is. I need to adjust, because he's a good man. He's a great father. And there are just, so for me, the therapy really helped me to recognize what was troubling me, what my part was, acknowledge those things, and realize the things that I was getting so upset about in the grand scheme of things, when it came to our children, it didn't matter. It is important for us to have dinners together. It is important for, even when it's his weeks, that we still, to some degree, see one another every single day. It is important for us to take family vacations once or twice a year together. I don't want our children to grow up in a world where they feel like they're in a broken home. And it's not a traditional home, but it's not a broken home. And so that has been my purpose and my mission and my intention when it has come to this non-traditional family unit.
So did y'all guys have that conversation before you guys separated into two different homes, or did you have that conversation afterwards once you started
Or y'all
to see?
went through the process?
Or you just went through what that process?
Let me say this too. I actually went through 4 therapists.
Did you?
And they all kept trying to separate me from my family. And I struggled with that. I actually never told Beverlyn why I was having a hard time with these therapists. And they just wanted me to be, quote, a man and, deal with my feelings. Don't let someone treat you that way. And I wasn't feeling that. Nothing in my spirit was telling me that the advice that they were giving me was what I should follow. So it was hard. I was left out there alone. But every time I got around the family, I felt, whole. So I went with my feelings and with my prayers, and it's been working out.
And that's something you really touched in, because like I said, when I went through therapy, the therapist, I didn't agree with some of their dealings. And like I said, you were very transparent about, you went to four therapists, four different therapists, and the same thing was to leave your family. And that's not even talked about.
Right.
Yeah. And I will say, for me, I went through 2 therapists, and I ended up going to a therapist outside of my network, one who I pay full price for. She doesn't even live here. I don't even know where she lives anymore. She's like out of the country now, but she has become a part of the fabric of my life, where I'm able to talk to her and just process information. Because when you talk about things and you have someone to talk about things to, it's not necessarily them guiding you, it's you processing what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's coming out of my heart and out of my soul and out of my mouth, and it's going into the atmosphere, and I'm able to process exactly what I'm going through versus holding it all in and not really having anyone to talk to. So therapy has been a game changer in my life, a complete game changer, but you have to find the right therapist. And I always say, try again. If you can't find, if this one doesn't work, try another one. Try one that will fit, because not everybody's going to be right for you. They'll be right for someone. They may not be right for you, but I highly recommend therapy. I don't think it's an overused or an oversaturated word. It matters, and it helps.
Now, have you guys ever considered family at therapy as a family for the co-parenting piece?
So yes, we have. And I don't want to say that failed. I struggle sometimes with follow through. And I know that there was a point in time when we were supposed to have a therapist for family, and it didn't happen. And I think that it's always good, especially when you are in a co-parenting situation, because even though the primary focus is our boys, there's still communication elements that could be tweaked. There are things that I could do better. There are things I can say a different way to where he's able to. And I'm just speaking about me, my part. There are tools and ways to be equipped that I think going through a therapist or going through a therapy session can help with, especially when you're in an environment where you're allowed to and you have permission to let it out without interruption. And, your guard is already taken down because there's a third party in there, and you don't want to act a fool in front of a stranger.
Yeah.
So,
I would. I'll be true to myself. I'm like, I ain't gonna fake it. This is what it is. If I'm having a bad day, I'm not gonna mask it. I'm gonna be who I am. I'm like, and I'm gonna shut this session down. Like I said before, me and my wife, we went to a therapy session. We were just sitting in the lobby, and a brother came out. I mean, his armpits was sweating. Like, you could just see his t-shirt. It was sweating down here. I was like, oh my God, he went through it. But you got to be yourself. You just definitely got to be yourself.
Well, you be yourself.
Yeah.
But I think that the presence of a third party kind of prevents you from over talking, because nobody wants to be told you're the problem by the therapist. See, you're the problem because you keep interrupting. You're the problem because you're over. Nobody wants to be that person. And so I think that you automatically take it down a couple notches so that you're not that person.
And you try to be a little more intentional of not taking up all the space.
Right.
And that third person can allow it to be balanced, because when we be in our little emotions, we can pop off.
But then I don't even know, like Like, let's say we're in therapy together. I might not even know who this person is now. I'll be like, who is this? You ain't over talking me. You ain't. Who is
Right.
this woman?
So to me, it's no longer effective because I'm not talking to the same person that brought us here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's somebody
I mean,
new.
it seems like they both agree.
Yeah, it's
but I was
somebody
like,
new.
this is who.
Yeah, it's somebody new now. You like, who is this? You'll be like, whoa.
What you trying to say? We was fake?
No, I'm like, you listening.
No, it's like
I'm
you
like-
start dating all over again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
I'm like, you actually listening to you're listening to me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you know what I found though too, oftentimes when you allow the other person to share their true feelings and you actually listen, you're really saying the same thing.
Yes.
But we're so busy arguing and talking over one another. I have learned the power of the pause. And I've also learned to just just be quiet. Like, oh, okay, that phrase, oh, okay. And just be quiet.
And I laugh because I'm starting to do that a lot. He was like, dang, you not talking? No, I'm just quiet. Sometimes, you have to just be quiet. The older we get, I don't want that noise. I don't want to be combative. I don't want none of that anymore. I want to change some of the trajectory of what they consider the pop off angry black woman connotation or me, being, I just want to be quiet. And and
But then sometimes
it irritates his soul because he's so used to us.
No, because I'm looking for, okay, so like when we're planning things, I'm looking for feedback. I'm in the moment. I need to hear your feedback. Like, is this a good idea? And a lot of times I'm listening to you. I'm like, no, we're to the point where I need your constructive feedback, criticism, or whatever you're going to give me so we can work through the issue or the situation. I just don't want you to listen.
Well, sometimes all questions do not have to be answered immediately.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to pause. Because we do sometimes, when you're in that moment and you're thinking about it and you make irrational decisions, I'm learning in my 40 plus years that sometimes I got to take a pause in order to make an informed decision now. And I'm not going to give you an answer right now because maybe I just don't know.
Well, I can tell you this. One of the things that's helped me is to see how effective therapy has been on Beverlyn.
Aww.
And I tell her that all the time. And knowing that allow grace on both of our parts. So if something becomes a little difficult, I'll just remember, wow, that's way better than it used to be. And I will just step back and, move on and come back to it again. The other thing is I think we don't want to hurt each other. So we'll just come right back and start talking. And I tend to let things go fast. She has let things go somewhat slower, but at least she lets them go. And I mean that sincerely.
That's
I
good.
think she's letting them go.
No, that's good. No, that's good. That's good.
But because those are the things that linger, and when you're lingering, you don't have time to be kind to each other, to have compassion for each other, because you're still holding something. So I try to get rid of it right away so I can come back and give her what she needs and what our children need. So if I'm holding on to it, I'm not being a good father. And that's how I look at it. The quicker I can let those things go, the faster I can be a good father.
I hear that common as a common theme. Men tend to, after the argument, y'all ready to make love and do all that, and we still like, no, we still mad, right? We tend to hold on to it longer than our significant others, because y'all be ready to move on, and we be like,
Well, part of it is our responsibility, because again, if you can't lead through anger. So you have to figure out how to remove that as quickly as you can so you can get back and provide guidance.
And see, I look at it differently in that I feel like we need to talk things out through exhaustion, because if it's not talked through, it's okay to move on. But if there's still a root or trauma and you bury it, it'll come out in another way. And I know that you're saying that you move on and you forget it, but I felt from you where it has come up. You have said in the past you did this, in the past you've done that. It has come back. And so and I think it's because it hasn't been fully dealt through. So I think communication is key, but also effective communication is key. that is more, and I have not always been able to effectively communicate. One of the things I will share is that I had really, really, really bad um, postpartum. I was grieving my mother postpartum. I have great mom guilt because our twins have autism. I didn't get a chance to breastfeed them, and a ton of other things that were happening during that time, all that pressure and burden that no one could really help me with, that I sat there and had to deal with all of that myself.
So you was fighting silently.
100%. And in addition, the weight of the world, just the weight and everything that we have to just carry, I didn't know how to communicate effectively. So it was coming out in different ways. I know that now. But it was a huge weight that I was the burden that we have to carry as mothers and as women
and Black women.
Yeah, and it's always invisible. You know, we understand when we get a cut or we break an arm or there's something physical but we don't really talk about those invisible hurts and burdens and the weight. Like I could feel my posture through the years just decreasing because of the weight of everything that I was carrying, and not being able to effectively communicate, I think was part of the demise of our marriage. Because you store it up. It's easy. Yeah, I let things go, but did I let it go? Right. And so by not letting it go and not being able to communicate, that argument where maybe you didn't eat all the fish I made for you turned into, and what you did last year, you know, that's what it turns into because you didn't deal with it. So I commend you for saying that you let it go in order for you to lead. But I also believe that, did you really let it go? Or is it going to come back
in our next
argument? You actually answered it. It came back because you couldn't let it go. So if I can let it go, and when it's not brought back up, yes, it's gone. But if you bring it back up because you're still dealing with it, then I have to. It's still there. So that's not a slight. That's a reality. If you swing at me, a person swings at you, and I flinch, and I try to let it go, but you swing at me again. I'm like, see, you did that last time. I wasn't trying to bring it up. I'm just reacting from before. But as she talks about the invisible burdens that women have, we can't even have a conversation. Men can't even talk about our feelings. So I don't think it's something that we don't understand. It's just something that we're not allowed to experience with you. And I'm not her therapist.
And that's something that we want to lift up and want to start changing, because if you are my soulmate, my partner in crime, my best friend, at the end of the day, whatever I'm going through, because the weight is a lot on both parties, right? Because the way the world treats us, we suspect y'all to be our safe haven. You are supposed to protect us mentally, spiritually, physically. And if I come to you, I don't need you to fix my problem. Sometimes I just need you to listen. You don't have to say nothing. Because sometimes I just need to I love the way my baby smell. I just need to just be in your arms and smell you. And then some of that weight that I'm carrying, whatever, babe. But the way that I'm carrying can start to decrease, and then I can feel safe enough to be able to tell you anything and everything without judgment, without it coming back in the argument. Because sometimes y'all do that, bring it back. So if you don't provide that, then you contribute to the stuff that I can't let go. But if you provide that space where I can, and you provide that where I'm safe enough and brave enough, I ain't gonna say safe enough, brave enough, because sometimes we're not brave enough to even tell y'all some things because it might come back at us later in the future, right? But if you start to do that, then I can start to let it go. And that's something that as Black couples, we don't do very in the health quick, but it's not our fault because we haven't seen that.
But I think, like you said, a safe space. We're not creating them spaces. Both parties aren't creating that time where we're going to be intentional and we're just going to sit here and no judgment. We're not creating that space because we're so busy. We're so busy with the world. We got to go to practice. I got to do this. You got to do this. This world has us too busy.
Well, one of the things I realize is that I'm I'm not a therapist.
Mhm.
I'm not her answer.
Right.
When she's going through things, maybe I'm the cause of it, and she can't get past that I'm the cause of it if she's talking to me, even if I want her to. So I don't think it's something that we can just do on our own. You know, as you said, that's a safe place. Well, also a safe place is knowing right,
Awareness.
and being aware of it, that hey, I'm not able to fix all your problems, especially if it's emotional, especially if it's a feeling. I don't react the same way. So how can I fix and actually I can sympathize, I can have compassion. I can't identify with it because I don't react that way. And I wasn't putting it on you. I was saying in general, I will take it. I'm not a therapist at all times. I can't answer my kids' questions. I'm just going to be there. And if I can be there, that's all I can offer you. I'm not running, but I would be there. But I know just from learning that I was not able to, or equipped with, or taught how to be the answer for everyone's, experiences that they're going through in the household.
But I don't think that that's the expectation, like for you to fix it. I think that the expectation, even for me today, there are times when I talk to you and I spill my gut. I still spill my gut to Orvell because, I don't really trust a lot of people. And having that safe space to know that you heard me sometimes is enough.
It's enough.
And when I feel like you didn't hear me, it's tough. It's tough. And I'm not pointing out any particular situation, but it does cause me to draw back. And so I don't know if the requirement is for you to fix it, but I think that the expectation, which could be an unrealistic expectation, is for you to just hear.
That's it.
And vice versa. But even in those moments, it's reciprocal, because just as I'm spilling my gut to you, I want to be that safe space for you as well. And when it's one-sided, I think that it impacts trust a little bit. So, but yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I mean, some things I didn't agree with, but it's all good.
That's normal.
But that's normal.
That's normal.
We ain't gonna agree with everybody.
Yeah, we all come from different experiences and different lens. So like me and James going on 23
years.
23 years. And sometimes throughout our marriage, I'd be like, man, we are totally two different people. Like, how in the world did God send this man for me, Lord? Because this ain't right? Yeah. But then it's other times like, dang, I understand why God sent him to me, because he was the person I need
to fix it.
I don't want you to fix it.
Thank you.
That's one of our biggest things, though.
I'm gonna fix it.
My baby want to fix everything. I told him, no.
I'm gonna fix it.
I don't need you to fix nothing.
Like we had this we all having this conversation right now. I'm wrestling with it. I listen, but I'm gonna fix it.
Bev, tell him we don't want you to fix.
You're not gonna keep.
He ain't heard nothing that me and Bev said.
Keep on because men were wired that way.
We don't want you to fix it.
We are wired that way. I mean, that's who we are as men.
But you're not a failure if you don't fix it.
But the other thing is that's not being stated.
We're gonna try.
The other thing that's not being stated is that they're not telling us when. So they can can easily lead a conversation with, I just need you to listen and not respond. You can start with that, and then we will be fine. We can win that moment. We can give you exactly what you want if you started a conversation with, I just need you to listen and not respond. And we were like, it's
James
okay.
Don't do that. Don't you might do that. James don't do that. I'm like, baby, I don't need you. I didn't need you.
No, let him finish.
And next year, look, 2 weeks later, babe, I told you I didn't need you to fix this. I told you that. He don't listen. My baby don't listen.
It's like you getting bullied every day.
Oh,
you getting bullied every day. You telling me you getting bullied at work. You don't want me to fix it?
No.
I'm with you on that. So there's a protection. There's a protection. And so it depends on what it is. Because if I heard her saying that, I'm going to go take care of it too. So I mean, but that's part of our responsibility. But as far as the therapist, I didn't have a father showing me that. I didn't have a mother who brought men around. So I wouldn't know that part. All I knew is that I wasn't leaving. All I knew is that I was going to be there. And so nothing that happened was going to make me leave. That's the only thing I can guarantee. So with that in mind, everything else, it was a learning process for me. I'm even learning now. I love when she talks about therapy. The reason why I love the fact she's going to therapy, because I see a difference in her, the growth in her that has allowed her to become who she is now. Because she was struggling with that. And I like who she is now. So I couldn't make her who she is now. And that was one of the things I think I was failing at. And I think we were trying to fail at together because we figured we need to do that for each other.
Right.
But I wasn't prepared for that. And I finally had to admit it. Because I was like James, I'm fixing it. I don't care. It may just be a crack right now, but I'm gonna fix that right now. And it was really humbling as a father, as a husband, as a man to realize I couldn't fix all those things. Being an engineer as well, that's all I went to school for, to fix something. And I can't do it. And I had to accept that, and to watch her, go through what she was going through, knowing that I couldn't fix it, was so hard for me.
But the key thing you said, the growth.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all guys have grown so much, and that's
because
the
of me.
biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. She was like, you got to throw that in with the knife. You was like, He was like, you had to throw that in. But that's good.
So when y'all talk about co-parenting, you guys do it different too. Like most co-parents, like it was times where Bev was sleeping at your house for the kids, you sleeping at Bev's house, y'all having dinner together every night. How did that process work?
So that I was tricked into that.
By who?
No.
Yeah, we done
So
it.
it's different because I think Beverlyn is saying it, and she said it two different ways. We're not co-parenting, we're partnering. When Beverlyn finally said partnering, that's when I got on board. I wasn't co-parenting. See, to me, co-parenting didn't work because you can't, that's all we've ever done in our community. Mom's over here, dad's over here. That's called co-parenting.
And that's not working.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But when she presented to me her definition of co-parenting, and it became, that was something I appreciated and said, okay, yeah, I can do that. We respect each other, and in respecting each other and putting our children first, that's what parenting is about. So I will co-parent with her until the end. I will co-parent, but being in different houses and partnering, that's strange. But the kids kind of sense when we weren't, doing it the way we are now. They sensed it. They lived in. It was like they lived in fear of what they knew. The unit that they knew was not going to be there when they got home from school, when they got home from, being at a game. Mom's not here, dad's not here. It just changed. I mean, partnering, that changed it. That co-parenting, we were doing that. Okay, you get them here and I get them here. That didn't help the kids at all. And as Beverly mentioned, the fact that they were dealing with, some emotional insecurity and some mental health things that was happening, they needed to see us parenting together. And once that took flight, they're starting to thrive. They're fun to be around, but it's something that was unique. And I want to keep experimenting with that because the children need it.
And one of the things that we try to do, although I would love help planning it, is we take them on at least one big trip a year, and we're together as a family, and it's typically for their birthday. And I think that is so important because they need to see us together. Even though we're partners in parenting, we still go to our separate homes at night, but they see us together every day, right? To some degree. They need to see that we're able to go travel together as well. And we do that very well. So at least my goal is one international, one domestic trip a year. And we have a lot of fun. It's a lot of prayer that goes before we go because I want us to be healthy in our friendship while they are experiencing this family dynamic and unit. And they really enjoy it. They love it when we're together.
They do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw a little knife in there a little bit. So what's going to happen when one of you decides to date? Would that partnership still be as seamless as it is now, or do you guys think, how is that transition going to go?
I don't think that
that's going to be a whole nother.
Yeah. I don't think that a man would ever want me because to be honest with you, and I talk about this on my show, like what man would want this? And nobody is going to come in between me and my partner of parenting ever. And so how could a man come into my life and accept that? And I'm okay with that. For me, it's more important that we have a form of unity for our children than to me that I have to explain what this is. So I don't have to explain this to anybody.
Yes.
And I don't want to. And I don't think that in this lifetime, just going to be, I need to get a cat, I guess, because
I can't come out. You know, I'm allergic to cats. I can't come kicking.
I just don't foresee a successful relationship with someone even understanding this dynamic, and for someone to even tell me that it's too much. No one's going to come in. This is my perspective. Nobody's going to come in between me and my partner in parenting, because that will ultimately impact our children.
And you, Orville?
I would not be around. It wouldn't be the same situation.
If baby,
right?
If
because
my Bev was dating,
yeah, I'm not. There's no triangle, nothing, and it would not. Because as a man, I'm not with somebody else's woman. I'm just not going to be. She becomes someone else's.
But we're not together.
So as a man,
Yeah.
she's not going to be around me, because I wouldn't want my woman around any other man. So once that happened, it's out of respect for him and out of decency for me. So because I don't want my children seeing all that.
So you're saying
craziness.
the partnership would change, the dynamics would change a little bit.
It would change a lot of it.
Oh,
It would
Which
change
is
a lot of
why
it.
I'm not willing to risk.
yeah.
At least say I'm not willing to risk that.
And so what if you find a new?
My kids come first.
So will Bev have to change the dynamics?
I will not. And so for me, he's saying I will not.
She gonna be stalking.
I'll be right there. We're gonna have dinner together, and
that caught me completely off guard.
Yeah, but that's the truth.
yeah, I mean, it's
said
not just
what
me;
it
it could be
is.
you too. And I have a different approach in that I want you happy, and nothing on my end will change.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, nothing on my end will change.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know the answer now. You know the answer.
And she got back up.
I know.
That's,
I understand.
yeah, you can't say nothing about that.
Yeah.
But I just asked that because as my parents' dynamics, it was times where we be in spaces where my mom was there, my dad, and the girlfriend, right? And the dynamics didn't change. It's just part of the way of our. But like you guys acknowledge, not everybody's going to accept that relationship
Right.
that you guys have. I don't know if Jack.
But
We know. We just go.
you talking about?
If we decided to part each other, no, you still gonna be right here, right?
No, I ain't.
Yes, he
so
will.
one of the-
I'm gonna be overseas. I'm gonna be overseas.
I'll hang out with you. One of the things that it's important that we're beginning is how that will look to the children.
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of children now, when they grow up, they don't even know how to have a relationship. Even if they love a person, they don't know what that means. They don't know the commitment that means, because what they've seen in their life growing up is that, okay, here's mom and here's dad and here's mom's man and here's dad's woman. And so there's no commitment. When you're talking about keeping a family together, there should be nothing that comes in between. And what they're seeing is what's in between.
Yeah.
I want someone else, so you will have to take, second fiddle. And kids feel that.
Yeah.
But I think unhealthy marriages impact children too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yes,
grew
it
up in a household
Yes.
where my parents were married 40-something years. I had a father in the home. And my mother, they were married, just me and my brother. And at times very unhealthy, which impacted the rest of my life. And so I don't want to paint this picture of if we're together, the kids are automatically healthy. I think that there's things that we can do to provide a healthy, safe space for them. Just as when folks are married, they can provide a healthy, safe space for them. I think it's the intentions of the parents and how that outlook will be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you can give one tip to the audience, Bev, you go first, Orville, you go second, what would it be?
For me, when you make the decision to transition from co-parenting to partners in parenting, it will change the entire dynamic of the relationship. But a second tip beyond that, for me, in order to get there, therapy matters. I really strongly advise therapy. because it just allows you to acknowledge your part in things versus blaming someone else for everything. It brings a sense of peace and calm, and it allows you to learn yourself even more so that you understand why you are the way you are, why your triggers are your triggers, and why you react to things the way you react to things.
Yeah.
It may not change anything, but at least you can justify or speak to, this is why I reacted this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually overcome those challenges. But therapy, number one, I highly recommend it. Find a good therapist.
All right. So I have a two-prong approach as well. First of all, I think as a man, as a father, you need to determine what's important to you, because this may not be what is important to you. You may be a horrible dad, or you may not be able to be in a space with their mom, and that doesn't look good. So you need to determine what it is that your motivators are and what you can commit to, because it's got to be real. The children have to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of that is you need to put them first in the story. Not, you can have an emotion. You can go someplace for a weekend and suffer in silence, but you better come back and make sure those children are first. That's all it counts. That's what you're here for. Once you have those children, that's what you're here for. You're here as their guide, both physically and spiritually. And if you're not going to do that, you're not being successful at anything else. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what promotions you receive in life. I don't care how much fame you have. We see this. Mm-hmm. If your children aren't solid in their confidence, then you are failing them and you're failing the next generation. And somebody's got to go through this again until someone steps up and say, I'm going to be unselfish and I'm going to put them first.
Yeah. I like all of that, because what James always says, he always talks about when he look at children, because we have mentored, coached, and been around children pretty much our whole marriage, and to watch them grow up to be people, adults. He always say, if you don't do good by children, you are a scumbag. He say that in a heartbeat, because these are God's most precious gifts, yes. And no matter what our type of success our kids have academically, in their sports, our whole wish together, because we both come from different unhealthy environments, right, was to disperse good human beings out into the space, right? Because somebody else got to deal with them, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to, like you say, you want to break the trajectory of unhealthy behavior. So now our boys can start having some healthy relationship behaviors going into their relationships for our grandkids and our great grandkids. We want to start breaking some of those cycles. So I applaud y'all for how y'all partner together, because it's unorthodox, right? It's not what the world say that it's like, what's wrong with them? But it's in a healthy way, and you guys do it seamlessly. I'm not saying that because I love y'all, but I'm just saying I have seen a huge growth in my babies just by you guys being selfless and putting them first. Because as an educator, I see so many parents who do not. Growing up in my own families, it was not always us first, right? And who gets the ramifications of that? The children, right? And I always say children are God's precious gifts, and they don't come into this world with all these unhealthy behaviors. It's their experience and exposures that create some of their unhealthy behaviors that are now ramifications of you see as you go out in this world. So I applaud both of y'all. I applaud you, Bev, for even acknowledging, hey, not everybody take ownership. We might blame, I would have blamed James all day long. It was James' fault while we divorced, right?
You sure would have. And that was a big thing that said.
That was you.
You took accountability.
Yes.
And that was the difference.
Yes.
So that was powerful. So Bev, tell us what you got going on as far as your podcast and
your books,
entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay, so I am the host of Mahogany Speaks. I am known as Mahogany. Mm-hmm. You can find me on Spotify and Apple. I am also an author, and I actually brought one of the proofs of the book here. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's The Journey of Affirming Myself, 52 Weeks of Growth. Okay. And this is just a proof, but this one is actually for young ladies. I also have one for young men. And I started writing this book about 2 years ago. And this really is not, when I say writing a book, I started putting together these affirmations because I was at a point in my life where I just needed to encourage myself. I was in such a dark space, and talking to my therapist, she would have me write things down. And she said, start speaking these things over you. And that is what really pushed me to writing this book, because these were affirmations that I needed to hear as a young girl. Yeah. And so I said, let me do this, but not just have an affirmations book, but to include a journal in here so they can also journal how they're feeling when they're reading it. And so it's finally published and it's on Amazon right now. I'm also working on a children's book, which once that's published, I'll share that as well. Okay. But yes, definitely check out Mahogany Speaks on all major streaming platforms. And it's audio only, but we're having a great time with that.
Yeah. I'm so proud of my sons.
Yes. And then Orvell has some great things going on too. So
we're not ready to share.
Okay.
That's good. He said stay tuned.
Yeah,
All right.
stay tuned. He's working on some big projects.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Renee Inc., once again, for keeping the lights on in the place. We love to say thank you to Renee Inc. Go check out their clothing at reneeinc.com. Anything else, Love?
I wanted to thank you both for having us on and allowing us to talk about it. It is important to us. We're not trying to tell everyone else what to do. We're just trying to reaffirm what we're doing amongst each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're telling our story.
Yes.
Like I said before, media has painted a whole different picture about how we as African Americans aren't successful, how us as African Americans, we can't get along, we can't cooperate, we cannot grow. And that's what the media mainstream is painting right now. And we have to change that narrative.
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
to. It's time.
And I think we are. I think you start to see more and more positive images of African American families and units, and they all don't look alike, but it does not mean that we cannot interact in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
And that's the message that we want to continue to push out to the world and to showcase to our young people. Because I love that. I always tell the young girls that I see, if you don't love yourself first, nobody else is going to love you. So if you don't speak affirmations and life into you, the world is not going to. So when the world don't say anything nice about you, who cares? Because I don't. Because I already know I'm fine as wine and God's gift to this world, right?
Amen.
Because I spoke that to myself over and over and over again. So please check out that affirmation
I was
book.
Say that's
please
Yes.
take
And especially our school system.
Our
schools need to
schools.
check that book out.
girl groups, mentoring groups.
Yes.
And she got one for the boys. We have to speak life and
And
teach
you said
our.
it's on Amazon?
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to
I
teach
saw
our
it.
youth
The
people.
Journey of Affirming Myself. 52
Yes.
Weeks of Growth.
Well,
Yes,
let me just mention this point. When the statistics are taken amongst all men who are fathers, African Americans are more present in their children's lives than any other ethnicity, male ethnicity fathers in the world. So we are more present, and it isn't something that's being portrayed, and they shouldn't have to portray it. We do. We're not asking someone else to portray that we are handling our responsibility. And the fact that we keep saying that means that we're not doing our job. We know, James and I know, I know the first thing he's going to do is take care of his children. We've always had that conversation. And when men get together, we know we're going to ask that question. What are you doing for your kids and with your kids? And if they're not, we tend to keep them at arm's length. We're only around men who are going to be involved with their children. So we know that statistic, or that perception, not the statistic, is that we are not involved, is basically set up to make us look bad. But we need to stop saying that as a people as well. We need to stop going on shows and saying he's no good.
Yes.
You know, he's a good father. He's in the children's life as much as he can be. And that's what we need to say.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Anything else, babe? Well, thank you again for tuning in to the Love Experience with Dr. Amber Hill and
James Hill.
All right.